Hi, you guys. Little Angel wants attention. And Benny wants a choo-choo. Pups. Anyway, I thought I'd get in here and go ahead and give a little of my history background because Valentine's Day is coming up and you probably won't see me for a while because we'll be working like 24/7 for 3 days in a row or something. So, my dad is one of 11 children. His parents are Irish, and I think they came to America before all 11 kids were born. They settled in, but they're Scotch-Irish. They're half Scotch, half Irish. I don't know what my mother is. She might have some Indian in her. But anyway, he's from North Carolina. All of them were born in North Carolina, and they were, and maybe I have an uncle that still is a tobacco farmer. So yes, they were tobacco farmers. As far as I know, they were all Christians except for one black sheep, and that was, I forget his name. He did moonshine and was an alcoholic. Darn, I remember some of their names. Okay, and you'll know why I don't know them all, but, anyway. I never knew my dad's parents. Don't even know if I ever met them. I've met some of my uncles. He has 2 sisters, no, maybe 3, okay? And my dad right now is like, I think, 85. Well, and then he does have a brother, though, Uncle Claude, and my Aunt Connie, and my 2 cousins, Dean and Mike. Mike is my age. He's the drummer. Dean is a singer. And Uncle Claude and Aunt Connie are singers. They're gospel singers. They're called the Hoppers, and they've been singing since, like, 1960. And I think they got the label once of the Sweethearts of Gospel Music. And mostly they sing with the Gaithers. Okay. So then that's my dad's side. Then my dad went into the military and he was stationed in Oklahoma, a military town in Oklahoma. My mother's from there. And her parents, my grandpa, I don't really know where he's from, and my grandmother, I don't really know where she's from, but yes, her father is the one that I spoke of in another video, where his father was a United States Marshal. He died when my grandpa was 10, and then my grandpa was raised by an older sister who was very abusive. And as far as I know, his father, the United States Marshal, was also abusive. He, like I said, I don't know where he's from, and he had he had olive skin tone. So I'm very white, like my father, very white skin. My mother can get out in the sun and she'll be dark instantly. Okay, so they might have some Indian in them, but back in the day, it wasn't good to, like, for instance, when they would get their hair cut, they would tease my grandpa. My mother said they would tease my grandpa that they got some Indian, and grandpa would get so angry. He didn't like that. And he was prejudiced. He was very prejudiced against black people. And any actually, probably Indians, because he was prejudiced against my little sister's father, Filipino. Well, my, just like black people, back in the day when there was still prejudice, if you were a very light-skinned black person and you happened to be able to pass as a white person, you would take that opportunity. Well, sometimes it happened that way with the Indians as well, when they started getting Americanized and stuff. So anyway, sorry. So my father was stationed, and then Benny, you can't gorge. The rapture's about to happen, so I let him have what he wants. Okay? So anyway, my dad met my mother. They got married, and then they had 5 kids in 9 years. The 3 first ones were a year apart. The 4th one and the 3rd one were 2 years apart. And the 4th one and myself, the 5th one, were almost 2 years apart. And then when I was about a year and a half, they divorced because he kept cheating on her and she kept ignoring it. And then finally, when she threatened divorce, she thought he wouldn't say okay, and he said okay. And he ended up marrying the woman that he was the last, well, he cheated on her all times with many different, but the last one, he ended up marrying her, and they went on to have a child together. And I guess my youngest siblings, his child and my half-brother and my half-sister, I grew up with my half-sister. So I always say she's my sister, right? And she is. So because I call my half-sister my sister, I was raised with her. I go ahead, even though I wasn't raised with my half-brother, I call him my brother too, because it's only fair, right? So then, I was a year and a half when they divorced. So I was born in 69, so maybe like 1970, maybe like 1971. So my dad's remarried. My mother never remarried for like 21 years. So she had my little sister out of wedlock, and they never got married, and they never really stayed together. So my little sister never really knew her father until she met him for the first time when she was like 14. And he left, or they broke up and stuff when she was about a year and a half. So we are 4 years apart. So I'm born in 69, and my half-brother and my half-sister were born in 73. So then my mother was gonna give her up for adoption. She didn't though after she gave birth. She even said that I said when she brought her home from the hospital. Now I was the youngest, see, but my mother and father were divorced when I was a year and a half. The 3 oldest went to live with my father, and the 2 youngest, my older sister and I, the 2 years apart, the 2 youngest of the 5 lived with my mother, and then she had the 3rd one. So the 3 of us all grew up together. For the first 10 years of my life, we traveled all over the United States to follow my father, who moved around a lot because he was like a salesman. And I joke about this. Back then, he wasn't a burial salesman. You know, usually it's life insurance. He sold death insurance. Okay. So, but he's a salesman kind of guy. So he was probably doing some of that. He worked for Coscott Cosmetics, if anybody's old enough to know about them. Flew around in their plane and jet and whatever. So then with his different jobs, my mother would, I guess, find a way to follow him around. We lived in Florida. I went to kindergarten in Las Vegas, Nevada. Um, and actually, that's where my youngest sister was born. And then, uh, and my mother, we lived there 12 months. She said she got 11 marriage proposals. And my mother's figure is like Raquel Welch. And her nickname in high school was Brick Blank House. And my dad's nickname in high school was Pinstripe. So he was tall and skinny. He's like 6'1", but my half brother, little brother, is 6'4" when he was 16. He literally had growing pains. He grew so fast, so quickly. Now, so yeah, my mother was built like that. And us girls got that, but, you know, I got my dad's bird legs. So anyway, and his thick waist, you know. Anyway, aside from that, vanity. Okay, so my mother followed my dad around. We were in Florida, Virginia, I think Pennsylvania. I don't know where else. Then finally at 10 years old, she went ahead and went back home to Oklahoma to stay. But I think we had gone there a time or once before and lived there in between all those other states. In 4th grade, I remember I lost track of how many schools I changed. I barely went to kindergarten. 1st grade, I had to have gone to 3rd grade because I remember that's how you learn cursive. My school pictures, I think I have them all, but I don't think I have 4th grade pictures because I changed schools. Even though we were in that same state, whatever state that was, we were always moving. We were always getting kicked out. We lived at the YWCA once for a while, and one time we came home twice. Once in Las Vegas and once somewhere else. We came home and all of our things were on the curb, and all the neighborhood kids were playing with our things. So our toys, what little we had, or, you know, didn't necessarily were toys. I guess I'm telling you this because I tell you I have a Christian background, but it's really not from my mother or my father. It's kind of one of those situations where they send you to church to get rid of you. So, and I'm not dissing my mom and dad. So I was 10, but my siblings were older, and even though we followed them around, I didn't really get to know them that well. We didn't really get to visit them much, and the stepmother would rip up any birthday cards, Christmas cards that my mother would send. She was an alcoholic. She was very mean. She did not like Daddy's kids, the other 3. She herself was 7 years older and also had 7 kids. And get this, he didn't really take care of us 2, his own 2 youngest that lived with the mother, but he adopted her 2 youngest, and he knew the others very well. So there was even a time we lived in a mother-in-law quarters that had electricity, but it had no fridge, and it only had like a hot plate. And I remember I didn't go to school wherever that was. I didn't go to school for a long time. We didn't have anything to eat for days. So that's why I don't know really my dad's side, but those three older siblings, I could, I kind of got to know them. I have a few memories of them when they would come to visit when we were in Virginia anyway. The other times, I don't remember really where we were. Then, um, so they were raised with the stepmother and the daddy. And Jane, and well, sorry about names, but my younger brother. And then, so from the 10 years old all the way up until probably 20, I never knew much. Oh, no, wait. Because at 15, I went and visited my dad during the summer. So I hung out with my older brother for a while. They had a girl in 63, a boy in 64, a girl in 65, and a girl in whatever, and then me in 69. So, where they lived in Virginia when I was 15, I went to visit. Oh, no, wait, no, I don't remember. But at 15 also, I went to visit my oldest sister in New Mexico when she was married and they had going to have a child. And I visited. And there was also another time I visited my dad when I was still in high school. And then at 18, I went to live with him to go to college over there, which it was just community college, and it didn't amount to nothing. So, wasn't even full time. Let's see. Then, what else? Oh, so while I was growing up, so I got saved at 10. When we moved to Oklahoma, I was 10, and I was in 5th grade. And I remember going into school in 5th grade, and I didn't even really probably know what grades, like A, B, C, D, E, and F, A, B, C, D, and F. I was probably getting all D's and F's. And my teacher, Mr. Stormer, a black guy, and his wife was a nurse. And he obviously noticed I didn't know shit. I think that word's in the Bible, actually. Does anybody know about these dictionaries? They're dictionaries. They're very expensive. You can buy them in the whole volume, or you can buy them condensed in 2 volumes. And they will have every word ever spoken since the beginning of time. And they will tell you when it was first spoken, what year it was, like 905 or something, right? Well, I bought the 2 volumes that were condensed, so you need a magnifying glass. I just remember looking that word up. But I did give those to my brother, my older brother, because he loves studying and whatever, and the Bible, and it's good to look up Bible words, and that's why I got those dictionaries, because of I was using them to look Bible words up, right? So anyway, also, backtrack, my dad, whenever somebody graduated high school, he would get him a car, a used car. So I did at 18. He bought me a used car. He also, like the 2 of us that grew up with my mother. Also, that older sister that grew up with my mother, she experienced living with my mother and dad when, same as the older ones. She was a little bit, she was almost 2 years older. And so she sometimes would go back and forth to live with him for a while. Then the stepmother would be too mean. She'd come back to mommy. And then the other 3 siblings resented her because they would have loved to live with mommy. But, the stepmother said, you go live with her. And I don't know, they would just be afraid, or maybe they weren't allowed. I don't know. But this other one, older, just right up, older a little bit, the two of us younger ones, the one a little older than I am, she did. She went back and forth a little more. I never did because I was so young. I didn't know him at all. And even though I would experience him, so like visiting sometimes, and he was always a nice guy. Daddy is very funny and he's very nice. Like, not, I guess he's nice. So, and we talk today still and everything. Um, but, um, what was I saying? Well, anyway, so then my older sister sometimes wasn't living with us. It was just my little sister and me and, my mother. So, and sometimes when things got really bad for my mother, um, she would probably send her to live with Daddy, because she really couldn't handle, afford probably something like that. Because, yeah, that sister wasn't living at the YWCA with us. And then she also wasn't living, she was living with us in Vegas. So anyway, this teacher, okay, that's what I was saying. This teacher obviously knew I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. And because even in the third grade or second grade or first grade, I probably barely went to first grade either. I barely went to kindergarten. I never had any clothes. I never had any clean clothes. I don't know about, I can remember teachers like Miss Lemon and Miss Mizell. That was first grade. I remember Binky, and Bubba, two students. Bubba was a white blonde-haired boy with rotten teeth, and Binky was a black girl with big afro ponytails. And every time that teacher left the room for something, those two would get on their desks and start screaming and getting the whole class out of order. It was crazy. Okay. And then in kindergarten, I just barely remember it, and I wish I could have gone more. I think I loved it, and I wanted to be there, but I never really went. Okay, so then this teacher, Mr. Stormer, he never said like anything, like you don't know anything or nothing like that, but I don't know how it all began, but he would tutor me, not after class, like just during class. And you know how they mix all the subjects together in that one classroom. You go out for recess or lunch. And I was learning things. I started learning things. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Then, sixth grade, I made good grades. Seventh grade, I got an honors English. And then I pretty much was doing okay. Well, I mean, I was never straight A, and I was never A, B. Sometimes I was D, sometimes I didn't care. But anyway, the church thing. So the thing is, that's the background. So my stepmother was Catholic, and she made everybody go to Catholic things, Mass, whatever. Okay, so those three kids grew up forcing them to go to Catholic church. My older sister found Jesus and she didn't remain Catholic or become Catholic. My older brother, the same. He never stayed or was a Catholic. He found Christ, I don't remember when. I think when he was older. Then the other older sister, those three older ones, that older sister found, I think she kind of believed Catholicism-ish, but she really, when she left home, she didn't practice anything. So she really didn't probably know what she was at all, but just called herself a Catholic. but she never did anything with it after leaving home and going to college, which didn't amount to anything. And then when she was about maybe 25, she found Christ. My brother was maybe around the same age, 26. My sister, oldest sister, she probably found Christ earlier, like maybe at 19 in college, I think, which didn't amount to nothing. We're not, I don't guess any of us graduated from college. So, and then later I went to court reporting college. But anyway, and didn't graduate, right? My fingers. So, Mr. Stormer took me under his wing and he caught me up. Then Mrs. Bennett, like my dog's name, she was really nice and she was a good teacher. So, oh, the church thing. So at 10 years old, we moved to Oklahoma, and there's a church up the road called First Baptist Church. Okay. I got baptized there. It was in the winter, or I mean, it was in the fall, like in October, but I don't remember the day. But my mother did go with me. We walked up there and walked home because we were actually living with her dad, my grandpa, at the time, because we stopped traveling around following my dad and we had to move in with her dad. Then I went to that church, and then my other sister, that's older than I am, she did not go, and neither did my younger sister. I don't know why, but you know, they didn't go. So then we moved to another neighboring town in Oklahoma, and I went to a Emmanuel Baptist church. And then my sister, older than I am, of the two of us youngest, same one that went back and forth, she experienced the Catholicism with my dad, I guess. She started going to a holiness church. And even though she wore the pants, because they weren't supposed to wear pants, they wore skirts like below their knee. And then she eventually stopped going after a few years because they finally, I guess they thought she would get the picture, don't wear that stuff. And they were trying to probably, you know, win her over. And they felt like it's been long enough and you're not going to change. So they started making comments, and she left because she wasn't converting to how they wanted you to wear no makeup, which she did, and cut your hair. And she had long hair, but she did hot rollers and stuff. So she was being stylish, and that's not what they want. So she learned a lot there. Then my youngest sister, I don't remember her ever going to church, but when I was 14, I was babysitting my youngest sister's best friend in the mornings during the summer, summer break. They don't have school. Their mom and parents still have to work. So I would babysit them, and my little sister, and she had a little sister. So my little sister was her best friend. So of course my little sister was over there every day while I was babysitting them, cook them breakfast, this and that, until she got home around 3 or so, or whatever it was. And I was in church, and I was obviously learning things. Now, I can't remember, and I can't tell you exactly, but that was the year that MTV came into being, and it was popular, and they were watching it a lot. And the parents had an album collection of all kinds of rock music, right? Even though the parents were very nice, I used lipstick for chapstick. So I want to put some lipstick on because my lips are dry. So then, um, what I did one time, I don't know if I had gone to, well, they don't have vacation Bible school for kids my age that way, I don't think, but somewhere along the line, I learned about that this rock music isn't good, right? And so maybe I already knew it, but I wasn't gonna, tell them about it right just then. But these little kids, my sister remembers 4 years younger than I am, so her friend was about that age. I was 14, so they were maybe 10. Then her younger sister that I'm babysitting was a couple years younger, so maybe she was 8. Maybe she was 7. But she wanted to be a big girl, She was very cute. So anyway, she was always acting like she was 10 when she wasn't. So and they would get all the albums. Their parents would buy them the little 45 records, and whatever the popular song was, and it's a single and everything. And they had like a video game, not Pac-Man, but something kind of like that in their bedroom. And I mean, they weren't rich or anything. We lived in the same neighborhood, It wasn't like the ghetto, but it was, kind of my mother was raised in the house that my grandpa still lived in. My mother and her twin brother and her older brother. So one day I am telling them how, I mean, I was very convincing. Obviously, I was like this, and I think they went to church. Her parents, they went to church, but they were listening to that stuff and watching that stuff. They weren't taking it seriously. They just, that was the right thing to do, I guess. Well, I was telling them, I'm like, this rock music, I don't remember exactly how I explained it. It wasn't like fire and brimstone or anything, but I'm like, this will seep into your soul. It'll seep into your mind. I don't know. All I remember is that I was sitting on the couch, and one of them was sitting beside me, and 2 were on the floor looking up, and they were all just spellbound. Like, really? Really? And we broke all their records. They went in their bedroom, and they're like, yeah, I want to break them. I want to break them. So they broke all their records, and then the little one, she's like saying, I got a couple more. Let me go get those. And then they started going for their parents' albums. Or, I don't know, but then we were like, no, maybe y'all don't listen to those, do you? And they said, no. I was like, okay, yeah, just yours. And we shouldn't be watching MTV anymore either. And I tell you what, I never babysat them again. Because she was very angry. Both of them were. But, so then I continued to go to church. And then when I can't remember if I think I had to have been 18. 18, they did a Bible study for us in our class. And the Bible study was on Revelation. And they got to the part in Revelation, I don't even remember which part it was, but it was a part something like, maybe if I really looked hard, I could figure out which verse it might have been, but what it spoke to me was, if you don't live right, you will be left behind. And I remember I went to the rest of the class till it was over, but I never went back to church again because in my mind, I thought, you know what? I'll never be able to be perfect. I'm gonna get left behind. I might as well not even try. And I see that teacher. She didn't realize she she was a very good teacher. She wasn't fire and brimstone or anything. The church wasn't either. But if she could have only, because I remember her reading that verse and really kind of expounding upon it, not to scare us or anything, but just the way she explained it. I, like I said, thought that. I'm like, I'm going to get left behind. I'll never be able to be perfect. I'll never be able to perfectly follow God like this. Which, you know, honestly, I probably, if my heart truly, now I loved God, but I was learning the Bible. I can't say that I was in love with him like, you know, like I've described to you before. So if I had been, maybe I would have gone to her and said, oh my gosh, Mrs. So-and-so, I'm so scared that I might let God down and then I'll get left behind. And she might have explained then that, oh, no, we're always going to sin and it's normal and you can just get better and better and, you know, blah, blah, whatever you needed to explain. And then so I never went back to church again. Now I didn't go full bore world, but I did kind of, like, I always had limits. I never got sloppy drunk, ever. I would just get buzzed or strongly buzzed. I never woke up one morning with a hangover. Or yeah, I guess I did, but I mean, I rarely. And then I also never woke up and couldn't remember what happened or anything. So I always had a memory. And I never got that drunk. So the drug part, I never did drugs until I was 33. And I tried cocaine. Oops, I shouldn't have said that probably. But Coca-Cola. And then I never... Okay, so for a year, I tried various. And then just your basic names, except for anything that'll make you see things. And then they weren't even on a common, consistent basis. It was more like hit or miss. It's not like I had friends like that or dealers or anything. I would just, like, if somebody offered, I was okay. But I didn't, like, have friends that, you know what I mean? So it was hit or miss sometimes, but that happened for like a year. So I'm trying to explain my Christian history and why I fell away. Okay. And I didn't even drink on my 21st birthday. I think I would drink. I'd socially drunk. I drank socially. So my mother, her mother grew up Pentecostal because my great-grandmother, her mother, was Pentecostal. So she probably prayed for all the kids, you know, which probably helped. Then my grandmother grew up Pentecostal, probably didn't like that. So she changed to Baptist, and she did raise my mother and her children Baptist, but I don't know how often they went to church. And then when my mother and father started having children and got together and married, I don't No, I know my dad was not Catholic. He wasn't raised Catholic, but they were Christians, and I think they were Baptist. And so, but I don't think they ever took us to church because my mother would always say, I had 3 in diapers at one time. Um, anyway, I don't. And then when the split up happened, um, so that's my 3 older siblings, their background, and then my 2 other siblings, the one older, the one younger. So basically, I was raised as a middle child, even though I am part of a Brady Bunch. But basically, I was raised as a middle child, and then those 3 older siblings, they had step siblings, plus they had their half brother. So when they got married, my dad got married to her. She had 7 kids, but 5 of them were grown and gone on to have their lives, and 2 were old enough. One was the same age as the youngest third child of the oldest. So those 2 girls, okay. And then the other one was like a year or 2 older. So she left home. So there was like 3 of daddy's, 1 of hers, then their own. And for a short while, there was another one of hers. And I tell you what, when I was 18 and I went to go live with my dad, and my little brother loved baseball, he got scouted for West Point. And he turned it down because he kept waiting to be scouted for baseball. That was his life. He knew everything about every baseball player. And daddy was a baseball coach, coached him every age. And in their yard, daddy always lived in the country, and he settled down in Virginia. And he always had a lot of land. And so daddy had a full-size baseball diamond in the yard. Yeah, chalked baseball things, bats, balls, everything. And yeah, my little brother was still in high school or junior high and still playing baseball when I was 18. So he's 4 years younger. Yeah, he was like 14. So after dinner every night, all of us, because I had a sister that had moved back in with them, there was me, and there was the stepsister was still living there. I don't know. Maybe this was another year. Maybe I was like some other age, and it's like all of us after dinner would go out and play baseball. I know how to hit a ball. If ever I got stressed out, I'd go to a batting cage and I'll bang them balls. It's really a good stress reliever. So, and I know how to pitch, but we would play baseball. And one night, it was just my little brother and me, and we played all 9 innings, just the 2 of us. It took us hours, and we made the rules, tweaked them all, however, so that just him and me. Just him, right? It was just him. It was just him and me, not whatever. So, and it was just me. So, yeah, that was fun. Okay, so Jamie, I keep saying his name, my little brother that got scouted for West Point, he turned that down, but he never did get scouted for baseball, which kind of broke his heart. But he still didn't want to go to West Point, I guess, which he would have been the only college educated one, right? But I tell you what, all right, I don't want a bunny trail. So yeah, okay. So we did, oh, yeah, I don't know. I think he's a Christian, but I don't know because he got married, then she left him, and then he was brokenhearted and he got remarried, and she is a Christian, and I think they're now Christians, right? Like together. but I don't know how strong. Well, so my oldest sister, for example, she homeschooled her kids until, now this is the one, she stayed in Virginia, my oldest one. She raised both her boys, homeschooled them. Then, when they got maybe too old, she did online classes of Liberty University. Then they went on to go to Liberty University High School, I think, because one of her boys, he's just too, some boys need to be tough, and he needed to be in some sports. So she put him in high school to be in football at Liberty. And then both of them went on to go to Liberty University, or whatever that college is, owned by that church, Liberty Church, or anyway. Then, so they're both college educated. Then, my brother, he has quite a few kids. Let's see. Yes, and his were all homeschooled until his wife left him. And he was part of, like, my little sister, this is my older brother, this very legalistic cult church. But the two of them, if you're keeping track, they were never really churched, the three older ones. And then my youngest, I don't remember her going to church with me much, except for the babysitting episode. And then, so my little sister found a church, get this, called Heavenly Metal Ministries. So they were a bunch of headbanging rock group, head thrasher with the dog collar spikes and the mohawks and the makeup and the weird leather jackets and the whole thing. Heavenly Meadow Ministries. Get this. The church evolved over time. She was with them for like 15 years. She started off as this, she's Filipino, so she has naturally black hair, but she would dye her hair blue black, because that was the style. She was very goth. She wore the black eyes and everything. Red lipstick, black leather. She was goth. Then she found Jesus with the heavenly, she homeschooled her child as well. My brother did. My other sister, 1 year, 2 years older than I am, she homeschooled just one. But she raised her children with no TV. No TV. They only had the DVDs. She only listened to Christian music, and they went to church. But it was Presbyterian because it was her husband's religion, okay? And her kids are all college educated. Actually, they all are very successful. All three. The one that she had to end up homeschooling because she had a bout with anxiety. When she did put her back into school after a couple of years, her very first year of junior high school, one day they had a test on something, and her daughter made 100 plus the extra credit, and the class made like a C or a D or something horrible. And the teacher got so angry. She's like, I can't curve this, or whatever that is, But homeschooling truly is smarter. It makes your kids smarter, more well-rounded. So, but all her kids are smart anyway, though. They're smart anyway. I have two brunette. I am one, besides my half-sister, who's pretty much black-headed. I'm a brunette. My oldest one is brunette. The other two are blonde. And the two brunettes are airheads. And the two blondes are smart. So, blonde jokes are stupid. Anyway, so that's my brother, my older brother. He moved to Texas. We all moved to Texas from Oklahoma. My mother finally got married after 21 years. And he's a man from Texas, but he was visiting Oklahoma. And it's okay because we lived in a trailer park anyway. It was going nowhere. Well, Um, we came to Texas, and they stayed married until he died. But um, I was telling my two siblings that I had gotten to know a little better when I was 18 while I was out there for a year trying to go to college. But that's another story when I took another turn. But then I called them. I was like, hey, we moved to Texas, y'all. There's a lot of opportunities here. Why don't you come out here? Because they were in a small town in Virginia and they grew up there and they didn't want to be there. And I'm like, why don't you come out here? So my brother ended up coming out and my other sister, not the oldest one. Well, this is where they found religion, God, Jesus. They found Jesus. Well, so my youngest sister and my older brother were getting along and hanging out, and they really never knew each other very well. None of us did, the three of us and the three of them. So we were getting to know each other a little better. And then, so after a couple years, my little sister found that Heavenly Metal Ministries. She wasn't looking for it. I think they were street witnessing in downtown Fort Worth while she was out partying. And she took a track and went ahead and went. Then maybe a year later, my older brother went as well. And my older brother wasn't a headbanger or anything, but he says about him, I'm not a redneck, and I'm not a, what's the other derogatory term? He says, I'm a hillbilly. I mean, so he's not a redneck and he's not a country boy, another term for a country boy. So he was more like a hillbilly. So yeah, he was coming in, or he's proud of it, like, yeah, I got guns, kind of guy. And he had been in the military a little bit, and he was crazy. I mean, he partied a little, and he was crazy a little. So they found that kind of religion, the Heavenly Metal Ministries, but they evolved, and then they became, over like the years, and you can see it, how, because they're your family, and they got more and more and more and more strict, and they did learn about the rapture, and they did believe in it later on. They figured that out. But they just started getting way over the top. And that's why my brother's wife left him after 13 years and 4 children. Anyway, so meanwhile, my family was raising children in Christ, and I was living in the world being a nutcase. Not like, I'm just talking about, I'm not a Christian. I call all non-Christians insane, because you're crazy not to want Jesus. If you don't want Jesus, if you don't want to follow Jesus, you're loco. That's what I'm gonna say, okay? So I was out in the world doing the limit thing, but I did get that bout of anxiety, and I know why I got it. Whatever I did, probably something I said, I was very arrogant. I was very proud. I had just had my accident. I was on top of the world. I was set free from just penny ante little insecurities that I no longer was insecure about. And I didn't need my husband anymore. He wasn't good enough. And my younger sister was trying to tell me, and my friend from court reporting, who was a Christian, don't do this. This is wrong. Don't leave him, and all this. And I remember one day being at my little sister's house, and she was probably saying something along those lines. And I said, you know what? I am happier than I've ever been in my life. And by the way, while I was married to him, who he had no Christian background whatsoever at all, he wasn't saved or anything. Neither was any of his, except for one brother who never talked about it. But so we never did religious or church at all while I was married to him, and knew him for 8 years total. So when I was telling my younger sister this, and she was trying to tell me not to, and then, and I even lived in Missouri then, so my little sister didn't live there. I was obviously in Texas here visiting my mother. My friend, Christian friend in court reporting, was there in Missouri too, but she was telling me don't do this. And then my little sister, and I remember saying when that day, I'm like, you know what, I've never been more free. I've never been more free. I am happier than, plus I had read a book by Laura Schlesinger that really sent me, it just put the cherry on top. And I was like, I'm gone. That is a horrible person, that lady, if any of you guys know of her. And she used to have a radio show as well. My mother got the book at a thrift store and gave it to me. She didn't know what it was about. And I thought that was just exactly right. That she puts it into words, how I feel. And I left him. And I mean, it wasn't that good of a marriage anyway, but so what I said to my sister that day when she was whatever saying whatever about don't do it probably, and how I said what I was saying, and I don't know how I put it, but I said, I will never be, similar to the fact I'll never be the same again, meaning I'll never be lower than I am right now. I'll never be to that extent. It was along those lines. In other words, I have this emotional mental freedom right now. There's no way I can digress. I will always be so much happier now. And he is, I'm not saying he was beneath me or stunting my growth or anything, but I don't know. I just felt like there was nothing in common anymore or something. It was just very strange. We had never fought. We never fought at all. You know, maybe once. So it was kind of shocking to him, but it's not like he was this goody-goody or anything. He was just, he was kind of rude. He was also mean, a little mean, you know, but not as bad as this one. So when I said that, when I said what I said, however I said it, it was a proud statement. I didn't know it was proud, but it was extremely proud. And it had something to do with, I am free emotionally, mentally, and everything. And I am out of here. I'm on top of the world. I am leaving that old stuff behind and whatever. Something a Christian would say, right? But this was an imitation. And shortly after that, out of nowhere, out of the clear blue sky, I don't even know how long after, but probably not long, I was so stricken with anxiety. And even with my Christian background, I kind of knew. I'm like, I figured it out. I'm like, I see, because I didn't want him back. If I knocked on that door and said, I'm sorry, would you take me back? He probably would have. But when we were divorced, maybe before the divorce, or maybe it was after the divorce, I was stricken with anxiety out of the blue. And then with my Christian background, because I kept asking myself, I'm like, I miss him, but I don't want him back. And I feel like I'm half there. I feel like half of me is gone. Even though he wasn't even a believer, never been saved, never once God. He was partyish, you know. I'm sure he cheated on me also a lot. But I had enough sense to know that I probably made the mistake that when God says, what God has put together, let no man put asunder, even though we were unequally yoked, I probably might have, could have won him. God, once you make the choice, God will fix it. So he probably could have made it to where if I would have come back to Christ, I could have turned him around and led him to Christ. So maybe God had plans like that. Well, when you divorce, you're now half of a person, whether you want that person or not. And that's what happened to me. I felt like something happened and I was gone, half gone. And that's not what caused the anxiety, but the anxiety kicked in, which made me ponder on my sin. And I'm like, why do I miss him? And I'm like, if I could go back today, would I? If he took me back, would I want to be there? And the answer was always no. No, I don't. I don't want, I don't love him, miss him like that. What I was missing was there was a plan. And I, in my pride and selfish backslidden, I destroyed God's plan. So now he has to find somebody else for whatever plans he has. And I've prayed for him, though. I have. And I think by now, hopefully somebody, many opportunities for him to accept Christ, hopefully have been there. But he did remarry and had a child. And then, okay, so I think that's everything of my background. But my family had religion like this of all different kinds, Presbyterian. My sister, that her husband, he was Presbyterian, so they went to Presbyterian church. She didn't have a TV in her house, a TV only for her kids to watch the videos that she chose. No, so they were raised this way. They didn't get to go to sleepovers, so only Christian music. Well, what was I? Oh, so yes. So we all kind of had our Christ, coming to Christ differently. I had it in the beginning. My oldest sister had it the soonest in college. The other ones got it a little late. Then they all raised their children Christians and homeschooled them. And while I was out being a crazy worldly person, right? And I'm not saying they've all fallen away, but now I'm the Jesus freak again since, 2020 and probably before. Because I rededicated my life in 03. And this is, it's not like we're all super close, but we did get together for every holiday, either Christmas or Thanksgiving. And we all, Angel, don't drink out of my water, please. So we did get together for the holidays, even though the Christian values were all over the place. We never got into arguments or fights. And I was being a worldly person, and they would a little bit witness to me. Some wouldn't, mostly my brother probably. But I'm just saying, so now that the rapture since 2020, and I'm starting to tell them about it because not all of them were raised to know about it. I only my youngest sister, and my sister older than me a little bit. Oh, and then my older brother, because he went to the same church as my little sister. So, but as far as my dad and my little brother over there, and my other sister that went to like a Baptist church, I think, and raised her boys that way and homeschooled them. So, I mean, I came back to Christ in 03. They were still raising their kids. We didn't keep in touch while they're all raising kids. But we got together for the holidays. Then, so 2020 hit, and that's when I start talking openly. Well, plus my mother died in 19, so that's when we all decided to get on a group text. So now we can group text each other. My mother's gone. We thought that would be a good thing to do. So, and then in 2020, I started talking about the rapture a little while after, and then not all of them. The little one, my little sister, had fallen away because her husband divorced her. He cheated on her after 25 years. My other sister, her husband left her after 25 years. And all this was happening in 16 and 17 and stuff. And then, so my other two sisters, they've been married for 30 or more years. And so the two that were divorced, they kind of went way back into the world. Not way, but they went into the world. So when we're on this group text since 19, but meanwhile since 16 or so, they're living in the world, the two of them. And maybe even the other two are nominal. Well, then I start talking about the rapture, but not every single one of them were taught the rapture. So now I have the youngest one has bumped me off. She removed herself from the group because she got tired. Well, plus that, I blew up the phone one day, and it was one day too many days I did that, and she's just like, and then I apologized. I'm like, yeah, that was abuse. I'm so sorry. I'm like, all my other sisters probably politely take it. You know, they're just like, ugh, turn the ringer off, or I don't know. I thought it was off anyway. Okay, Benny, maybe I'm getting too much in the weeds here, but because this is starting to get on my nerves. Either I or he. Shaky baby, shaky baby. Anyway, I'm just saying that. I don't know why I was saying that. I'm just saying that it kind of turned like I was now all blah blah. We gotta watch. And they're all kind of nominal or fallen away because the two were kind of fallen away. No more church. So, but since I was working on him before the little sister removed herself, maybe just a few months ago, yeah, the other ones now, except for the oldest one, who is just an airhead in a different way, like she doesn't care about, she'll go to church, but that's just the duty. She's like, that's just what you do. You don't take it seriously. That's the attitude I get from her. But I know maybe it is really how she feels because she used to be really into the Bible. She was the one who was reading those different translations. She and her husband, way before they were popular. So anyway, she and my youngest sister, who are actually 10 years apart, my younger brother and my younger sister and my oldest sister are 10 years apart. So those, and then I don't know about my older brother. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. Not like don't talk to me, but he's a loner. And yes, I too kind of am a loner as well. I can do with or without people. I can be a social butterfly, or I am just fine being by myself. I can, okay, you guys have seen Seinfeld. I never, because we didn't grow up much with a TV either, just because we were poor mostly, and going to movies, we couldn't afford it anyway, even if we wanted to, and then church said you shouldn't do that, so we were fine with that. So as I got older and was with people who did have TVs, I never was interested in watching them. None of those sitcoms. But, you know, Kramer, everyone knows Kramer. I feel like I'm the female Kramer. And I forgot why I was going to say that. But anyway, my brother's really funny. My dad's really funny. I'm kind of funny, I guess, sometimes when I'm being funny. But I forgot why I was saying that. I'm probably just getting tired. And plus, this is probably very boring. I'm begging for, I'm apologizing profusely. And that is where it is now. I'm the Jesus freak. And now they're getting on board, or they're jumping off. You know, like my little sister, which we just helped her last weekend. So my other sister that was with Presbyterian for a while, and then she said to her husband, like after 13 years of going there, she's like, I'm leaving you if we don't change churches, because they don't teach me anything here. I hate this. So then they changed churches. And they were in a probably non-denominational. So we're all over the place. We aren't like super, so make sense of that, whatever you want, but I'm just saying that because my brain is probably shutting down and he was distracting me. So if I not followed through, and this is probably normal. But anyway, okay, God bless you guys. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow. They wanted me to work tomorrow, but I said no, I can't, because beginning Monday, is game on. It's Valentine's Day and Mother's Day are the two biggest seasons for flowers. Okay, God bless you guys. Bye.